Alright, we're back. We have got our pots in place here, as you see, all the way across. I have left these loose on purpose because there's other components that need to go into face plates. Because if you tighten down on any of the pots here, if the faceplate is slightly off, it's going to be very difficult to get the pallet light and the input jacks in. So I like to leave everything loose on the front and back panels until I get everything installed, and then you go tighten down everything that's there. Okay. Now, we like to use CTS pots. If you notice, if you've ever bought some of our Mojo pots, on the back of these actually is stamped our name on it. And also next to the name will have the value of it. This is the 10K bias pot, but I wanted to show you what's actually going on with CTS pots. One, they use a type of coating, and it escapes me right now what that was, but we can actually solder directly to the back of these pots themselves. If you notice, bias pot's open on both ends, and it does not have a shaft like the regular tone and volume controls do. But if you look down here and are actually, you know, these CTS pots are closed back, but nothing actually contacts the back. The back wraps around, it's nothing more than a dust shield, and attaches to the front with 4 bent over tabs here. Which makes it really cool because you can solder a bus across this, which eliminates the need for a brass ground plate that Fender used from early 1961 all the way up to 1976, 77 on the larger amps, from the Deluxe Reverb up. Now, going down from the Princeton Reverb down, they did not use that. They actually soldered the grounds for the board and the other various components to the actual chassis itself, and that became it was very problematic because they would have to sand the chassis in parts because this is a galvanneal coating. It's a 16 gauge galvanneal coating that you use. Is very similar to your galvanized fence. I guess it's zinc. So you would actually have to rough this up and get down to bare metal to actually have it solder, have a solder joint that was structurally good. Okay. Now, that's one of the reasons they have that brass plate. From what I can tell, what I read, and there's not much information on the brass plates here. With the use of a 3-prong cord, the chassis is grounded itself. Okay. I think really the only reason they used that brass plate that were in the original ones is because I think they ran into a problem with the tweeds and into the very early white and brown faces, or excuse me, brown face amps. They were noticing they were actually popping welds on the actual, or excuse me, solder joints on the actual chassis itself. But when you added that brass plate, it was very easy to solder to, and of course when you couple that with the lock washer that goes with the pot that bites into it, is a great ground point. However, nowadays you don't need that. Actually, I like to do them without it because it's just one more part you have to add. The less parts, the easier. So that's why you don't need one of those brass plates for any amp. Really, I mean I have a 71 reverb, super reverb, and I actually pulled that plate out because I was looking at it because I was mystified of what they actually did with it. And the only thing I could figure out was soldering, to keep your grounds correct. So, but again, this doesn't need it. Now, these pots, when you install these, again, I left them loose because there's other components such as the pilot light in here, and I like to have movement with the faceplate itself, and that goes for the back plate as well as going back here, which I have right here. Okay, so we'll start with that, and we'll see here. We're going to move. I'm going to get the pilot light in. I'm going to get our jacks in oriented correctly, and then I'm going to go across the back and get all the other jacks ready, so we can move forward onto the grommets and the other mechanical parts of the actual chassis itself. Okay, we'll be back. Thank you.